Thank you and good afternoon. It's really a pleasure to have this possibility for 1 hour to be interacting with you. So I'm Claudie Haignerés. I'm a medical doctor, a rheumatologist. When I was 12 years old, it was 69, July 69, and I had the chance, wonderful to see this magic moment of the first human landing on the moon. And it was for me something unbelievable. The dream to access the moon was possible. And it gave me this sparkling idea, so maybe to have this chance to be part of the adventure, to be in space. And I had the opportunity, working in the hospital in Paris, to discover a call from the French Space Agency, recruiting candidate astronauts to be part of the scientific program on board the station. At the time it was already open to male and female, even if there was few female astronauts, and civil as well as military person, researchers, doctors, engineers, and not just fighter pilots. So I decided to dare and to ask for a file and enter in a long process of selection with medical exams, physiological testing, psychological testing, ability to learn new languages, because at the time it was a Mir station, a Soviet station, and the space shuttle, and then the beginning of the building of the International Space Station that is still in orbit. And okay, I've been selected. At that time, in this French selection, we were 1,000 candidates, and we have been 7 recruited as a candidate astronaut. I was the female astronaut of the French team at that time. I decided, being a medical doctor and having been recruited as a scientist for the science mission, to have also a research pathway. So I decided to make a PhD in neuroscience, so MD and PhD. And with that, I got the opportunity to begin my training in '92 in Star City in Russia. I've been sent to work with Russian colleagues. And with 1 training, 2 training, 5 training in between '92 and 2001. I lived for 10 years in Russia. I had 2 flights opportunity. One in '96 on board the Mir station, so the Soviet station, and a second flight opportunity in 2001 on board the International Space Station, at the very beginning of the building of this international cooperation. Yes, we can put maybe, voilà. So you will see on this slideshow some part of the training, the dynamic phases of the mission, the 2 stations where I lived, the Station Mir and the International Space Station, the life on board in an international crew. So the second mission on board the International Space Station, it was completely open to different cultures, and so American astronauts, Russian astronauts, European. And the very, very beginning of the training of the Chinese astronaut, there were some Chinese astronauts in training at that time in Star City, and then China developed its own space program. But we are opening cooperation also in that sphere. And I had this wonderful opportunity to be for 2 short duration missions. The first one was a 16 days mission. At that time, I was in charge of the scientific program. You have seen the rocket, the Soyuz rocket, to go to join the station. There is 3 places in the capsule at the top of the rocket. In the central seat, that's the commander of the crew. On the right side seat, it's a scientist of the mission, and on the left seat, the engineer of the mission. I had the chance to do my first mission on the right seat and being in charge of the scientific program, and the second flight as an engineer, so that means in charge of docking of the capsule with the station, maintenance of the station. That means this opportunity to be multitask, I would say. I have this legitimacy as a medical doctor and a researcher, and then I gained the expertise being an engineer on board. So it was wonderful to have these different facets of the way to be in space. And also I had a wonderful time in Star City beginning in '92, just the transition between the USSR and Russia in a closed environment, and then opening to the cooperation and being part of the building, assembly of the space station, and working in a multicultural crew. I had also part of my life, this is the first part as an astronaut, then I have been a minister for research, I have been a minister for European affairs, I have been a head of a science museum in Paris, le Palais de la Découverte et la Cité des Sciences, and I'm back now in the European Space Agency with 22 member states. Luxembourg is one of the member states of the ESA. And I'm working on this next step, building permanent habitats on the moon in order to learn how to live, to work on another surface than the planet Earth, in order to prepare also for the future of exploration, deep space, Mars, for example, but we have still a lot to learn before being able to go with a cruise on a Mars planet. And but that's one of the goals. So the show will run like that. You have seen also some elements of life on board, of work on board, and I'm sure that you have a lot of questions about training, about life, about work, about research. And you have seen also the wonderful view that we have through the window. We are in orbit with the station, what we name the low Earth orbit. That means 400 kilometers from Earth. And it takes 8 minutes 45 seconds in order to be injected in orbit, and then a few hours in order to dock our capsule to the station. To go to the moon, as you have seen the preparation of the moon, it will take 3-4 days to go there. It's not so far. 1,000 more than the 400 kilometers. Moon is 400,000 kilometers from Earth. And then preparing deep exploration, deep space for the Mars planet. And Mars is, you multiply once more by 1,000. That means 40 million kilometers from Earth to 200 million kilometers. And that it will take months to go to Mars. And you will not decide, I want tomorrow to start for Mars. You need to wait for the right window in order to go to Mars. And I say that because 2020 is a good window to join the Mars planet, and there will be 4 missions with automatic probes to go to Mars, with orbiter around the planet, lander, rover, and even a rover from the European Space Agency that will get a drill in order to go under the surface of Mars to try to see if there is somewhere traces of an ancient life, maybe. Because Mars, a billion years ago, was a planet with water, with atmosphere, so maybe there was some beginning of biological components. And it's very interesting to do that. So 4 missions will start in July this year to go to Mars. But for a crew, still we'll need to wait a little bit. But the moon, it's really close, and soon there will be crew on the moon. It's no more the generation Apollo. I'm from the generation Apollo. But a new generation, not just exploring, but also living, working in permanent infrastructure on the moon. And here, so you have also some images from the International Space Station. Now, when I joined the International Space Station, it was 2001. The first module of the International Space Station was launched in 1999, the second one in 2000, a node to connect the Russian module and the American module, and another node to prepare the spacewalk, the extravehicular activities. And now that's a huge infrastructure in orbit, 450 tons in orbit, with a lot of laboratories, 2 American laboratories, 1 Russian, 1 European, Columbus, launched in 2008, Japanese module for research, and tele-robotic arm from Canada in order to make the assembly and to prepare all the activities outside the station. This is a particular environment, this low Earth orbit, to do research in microgravity. You don't feel the effect of the field of gravity when you are orbiting the Earth with a speed of 28,000 kilometers per hour. So free floating, but never coming back to the Earth. And you can have a lot of hypotheses about the role of gravity, physiological systems, biological systems, animals, vegetables, the behavior of fluids, the combustion, the plasmas. So you have this wonderful opportunity to make a research that we are not able to do on Earth, because on Earth it's impossible to do without gravity. So a lot of different kind of experiments that are performed there in these different fields. So when I was on board the International Space Station at the very beginning of the assembly, I often say that it was camping science. That means we had wonderful little racks to do experiments. We performed the experiment, and then we put everything in a corner in order to have the place to live, because there was just 2 modules at the time to organize life with 6 crew members on board. But now really there is a wonderful ability to make reproducible research in different fields. Here you have Alex Gerst. Alex is a German astronaut from the European Space Agency. I've been selected in '85 from the French agency, and then in '99 they decided to put all the different astronauts in Europe in a European astronaut corps. And that means my first flight, it was a French-Russian flight, and my second flight was a European ESA flight on board ISS. And the last selection on ESA side was in 2008 with 6 new astronauts. They had already 1 flight and they are performing their second flight on board the station for the time being. There is an Italian astronaut, Luca Palmitano, who is the commander of the station, and he will come back in 1 week, February 6th, after a 6 months duration mission. Alexander did a mission 2 years ago, and that's also second flight for Luca. There will be a second flight for Thomas Pesquet, the French astronaut in the team, and then planned for another German astronaut, Matthias, and then for the Italian female active astronaut of the European Space Agency. I'm no more an active astronaut, I'm preparing the future for the new generation as a medical doctor in the field of geopolitics, governance, how we can build standards, materials, but I'm preparing the future, not being active in training. Maybe if I have a phone call saying, are you ready to go back on training and to go to the moon? I would say, yes, sure, I'm ready for the moon. But it will not come. So I'm preparing the future for this active astronauts. And so we have one female astronaut in the group, Samantha Crisoveretti. Say that because I see that there are girls here, and sometimes you can say, oh, it's male environment, it's not for me. Why not? It's not for you. If you are interested in being part of the research engineering team, this is open. If you are desire to participate in it, so dare it, then try. There will be a new selection of the European Space Agency, but you are too young. There will be one at the end of this year, end of 2020, and the criteria. So it's open, male, female, researchers, pilots, military, civil engineers from different fields. It's open with age limits 27, 37, so you are not there. So maybe for a new selection later on, you can be the one who will apply to this selection. Why 27? I think we need to be able to be multitask on board. That means have professional expertise in one field, but usually in the second field or so, research and medicine for me, or engineering and research, or piloting and engineering. And then you will have 15 years, 20 years of career in that field, with one flight, 2 flights, 3 flights. Why not have the chance to have two flight opportunity? So look at that, and I'm sure you have questions. I'm here to share with you my passion about space exploration, human space exploration, knowing that in the European Space Agency, that's an intergovernmental agency working in all the field of space. This means human exploration is just one part of space affairs and fields. You are the one dealing with the launchers, access to space, with Ariane 5 and Vega and the development of Ariane 6, the new generation of launchers. You are the one preparing the space science with the probes. For example, we had 3 weeks ago Cheops going outside the solar system in order to search for exoplanets. That means planets that are orbiting around other stars, or the sun. We launch also Bepi Colombo in direction of Mercury. And that's difficult to go to Mercury because Mercury is in between the Earth and the Sun. That means you will go not far from the Sun, so protection, thermal protection, that is something very complicated to explore Mercury. And in 2 weeks from now, we will have a launch of a solar orbiter to go close to the Sun. Not too close, because you can imagine that being close to the Sun with technical probes, and it's a very hostile environment for sure. So a lot of scientific mission, wonderful. This automatic mission, we spoke about the mission to Mars. That's not human exploration, but the robotic exploration. And then all these satellites that are around the Earth with different kind of orbit. The low Earth orbit for Earth observation, all this constellation platform for Earth observation. You have also the telecommunication, broadband, TV, access for internet and everything that we use daily, and the geolocalization. I'm sure you heard about the Galileo, which is the European GPS, more precise than the American GPS in the current standard. So a lot of wonderful possibility to understand far away and to be useful also for our daily life on Earth, agriculture, surveillance, and a lot of things, knowing that there is now a lot of satellites orbiting the planet, and that we will have to cope also with the potential collision in between this multitude of satellites, what we name the space debris, spatial. And one of the preoccupations, the concern of the Space Agency are dealing with security and safety, not just of our environment on our planet, but also the close environment of the planet, but extra atmospheric environment. That's something important, as well as maybe some of you are interested in it, know that all this infrastructure in cosmos is something that is critical for our life. That means that we need to be safe also with that. And maybe you heard about cybersecurity aspect. So that means safety and security includes also all this aspect of this new technology, protection, hacking of the signals that are coming from Earth. So a lot of wonderful fields of research, engineering that are open to you if you want to participate in this adventure. But truly, that's the human space exploration is really a wonderful human, scientific, technological adventure, and a great diplomatic, I would say, possibility to work all together in coordination with the different nations in order to go further for the progress of our humanity. Do you have some question for me?
Have you ever been scared of not being passed back or
So I will answer with my own experience. I said on the Russian system, my 2 flights were with their Soyuz rocket launcher and the Soyuz capsule on the top of the rocket. And this rocket, the Soyuz one, is about the same of the one of Yuri Gagarin in '61, the first human in space. It was a Semyorka at that time. The Soyuz is not so far from the Semyorka. And that means that's really a robust system. 1,700 launches. So I was confident with the technical system, that one element. And in all the different steps of the dynamic phases of the launch, you have the possibility to have an extraction of the capsule and then the capsule coming back on the parachute. So I would say it's safe, even if so there is a lot of propellants, you can imagine, going from speed 0 in the Cosmodrome, the launch pad in Baikonur, to this speed of 28,000 kilometers. That is the speed for satellization around the Earth. And so confidence in the system. Then a long training. First step, the selection. So we are not completely, I would say, in the bulk of the Gaussian curve. With a little bit selection on the point of view of physiology, psychology, and things like that. Long training, learning a lot of different things, learning how to work in a crew for safety, for understanding, mutual understanding of the different situations. We have a lot of training in simulators of the capsules they use, simulators of the research that we will perform in the laboratories. So we know each other very well, and we build trust in between us. You are confident in yourself, confident in your crew, confident in the team that is working with you, and confident in the techniques. So I was really eager to be there, waiting for my first mission. I've been selected in '85. My first flight was in '96, 11 years after my selection. So I think you can imagine my spirit at that time. Wow, this is time for the dream to become a reality. And I was really waiting eagerly for this zажигание, that means in Russian injection. It's the beginning of the adventure. This part of the adventure, because the world theme, Star City, with their cooperation, the human relationship, was also something really incredible. But so, vigilance, concentration, trust in what you will have to do, and the two flights were nominal, as we say, without any main problems. Some problems, for sure. Computers, it will not be, so looking through your laboratory, working on plasma physics. So you have on your operational procedure what you must see on the screen when you launch the experiment. And wow, it's not at all what is written in your book when you are on board. Wow, I did something wrong. Maybe I didn't put the right temperature, the right pressure. And asking with the mission control center on ground. Say, okay, it's not at all what we are waiting for. We will think a little bit and give you some more information. And then the researchers say, okay, we didn't think about that, but the laws of physics and signal, okay, was not at all what it was planned. So, and it was a discovery, I would say, something. But so you have the responsibility when you are on board for the whole program, the maintenance of the station in link with the ground. So you can always have a link and interaction. And this is something important to be more confident. And this is something that you have to keep in mind, because for the Mars mission, I was speaking about the Mars mission, Mars missions, there will be a delay in communication, 20 minutes, asking for something, the communication to go to the control center, and then 20 minutes back for the answer. That means that the crew must be operationally autonomous to take the decision, maybe with some artificial intelligence to help the system. But it's a really completely different situation. It's a situation for this flight in low Earth orbit, or even with Moon. With Moon there is 1 second delay of communication. It's something you can cope with in most of the cases. Currently, on the agenda of NASA, I think they have put 2033 for the first human mission around the planet, orbiting the planet Mars. Maybe it's possible in orbit at that time. But you must be aware that for the time being, there was no Mars sample return. That means we have land on the Mars surface, rover, lander, probes, but never we got samples in return. the demonstration of our ability to take something back from the surface of Mars planet before being able to. And then we need to learn how to live and work. That's why the step of the moon surface activities is something important to prepare the future. The moon, the first human landing back after Apollo mission in between 69 and 72, 12 men on the moon. The next mission planned by our American partners is named Artemis. Maybe you have seen one slide with Artemis. And Artemis is a deess, goddess, a female one. And that's a twin of Apollo. So that means that next time there will be a female astronaut on the surface of the moon with the Artemis mission. It's planned for 2024, maybe with a little bit of delay. Our Chinese partners said also that they will have a scientific base on the surface of the moon in 2028. This means it's nearly close, 24, 28, that's tomorrow. And I think we will learn a lot in order to prepare the Mars mission. Mars will be a little bit later. You will be part of that. I think, I'm not sure that I will see the first human landing on Mars planet. Landing. If it's 2040, 2050, okay. But you will see that, you will be part of it. And the selection for the Martian astronauts, maybe in 10 years, 15 years from now, you will be ready.
Why did we stop?
So in 61 there was this wonderful speech of JFK Kennedy saying, so we'll go there not because it's easy, because it's difficult and we will be all together. You have to remember that at that time, not remember because it's not a memory for you, it was this space race in between the USSR and America, demonstration of the pioneering steps. And pioneering steps, a lot were Soviets. First satellite Sputnik, 57. First human spaceflight, Gagarin, 61. First female astronaut, Valentina Tereshkova, 63. First spacewalk, Alexei Leonov, Soviet. So at that time it was a decision also, I would say geopolitical decision. So, with a huge impact, impulse, technology, the creation of Intel and all these integrated circuits at that time, with a lot of money in order to be able to do. And they did it in a few years. It was really wonderful in between this speech in 61 and 69 with the power of what you have in your smartphone at the time. That's really unbelievable to have been able to do that in 69, the first human landing. And then, that's true, it was a lot of money, it was a lot of political push. It was a huge demonstration of power from the American side with this pioneering human landing, first human landing. And it was also the time of the Vietnam War. And that means the priority were changed in terms of balance and priority. And after 6 missions, they decided to stop the moon program. The last mission was in December 72. It was a 72 hours mission, that means less than 3 days. So it was a wonderful phase of exploration. And the step that we envisage now is, I would say, more than just exploration. It's also trying to learn how to live, to work in permanent habitats I would say that's the beginning of an expansion of humanity. And all the agencies in the world, so NASA, the Chinese, they are on the far side of the moon. Maybe you heard about that with an automatic probe. This is a pioneering step, far side of the moon. The first pioneering step of the Chinese partners. And so we have this possibility to work in this step forward to the moon and to go there, to build this permanent infrastructure, and I hope we will have the possibility to do it all together. That means not just having a flag, an American flag, a Chinese flag, or a European flag, but maybe all together. That's why we named that in the European Space Agency the concept of a village. So to make village, to organize a village on the moon. And that's something that is scientifically interesting, technologically interesting, but also thinking how to work together and organize that together. So this is the step now, and that's a wonderful endeavor to be part of. Oui.
What does the food taste like?
Excuse me.
What does the food taste like?
The food. Okay. Oh yes, for me there's two very different experience of food. My first day in the Mir station, it was, I would say, not so diverse, with some cans that we can put in an oven, cans where there was chicken and beef mainly, with no sauce, no pork crumbles and things like that. We need to be very careful because everything is free floating in the environment. And there was dehydrated stuff. You put hot water or cold water in order to make the food. But not so much diversity. And even I would say for a short duration mission, everything is so exciting, discovering your body in microgravity, working carefully on your scientific program, looking through the window, the wonderful planets that you have, and through the window, even if it's pills for the food, it's enough, it's not a problem. But you're right, for a long duration mission, that's important to get a food qualitatively and quantitatively also good for fitness, health, with all the vitamins and all what you need, but also with the flavor, the pleasure to share that with other crew members in different cultures. So that's an important element. And there is a diversity now of meals on board, from Russian, American side, or German, French, Italian, pasta, and even ice cream on board, because there is freezer now on board. That was not the case when I was there in 2001. And fresh things, because there are cargo going from Earth to the station, cargo that means without crew on board, but with fresh fruits, water, clothes, all what you need, and oxygen even, but with fresh vegetable fruits, and that's important for the behavior, the psychology of the crew during the long duration mission. Okay.
Don't you freeze dry the food? So that you can eat it in space, don't you freeze dry?
Désolé, je parle pas. We in freezer, yes, for sure. That's dried by freezing the nutrients, and then there is ovens in order to make it. Also, still dehydrated with hot water, but with a large diversity of flavor.
How do you go to the toilet in space?
The toilets. My experience also. I have not been in the space shuttle, and I know there was some problems with the toilets in the space shuttle because it was a rather sophisticated system on the Russian side and now in another station. So you have a kind of depression system, suction system. So that means there is no gravity there. There is an inhibition of the effect of gravity. But with the suction, so there is a verticality. So you have to fix yourself on the seat of the toilet. And after that, it's really easy without any problem. It works well. So there is no possibility to have a shower on board, because the same without gravity, there is no up to down, top down water flow. So that means that we have towels, and we put water in the towels, and then you are, I would say, inside the bubble of water. And with dry shampoo, but it's okay. But that's true, that's important, because for the long duration mission, you have the scientific program, you have the pictures that you can take through the window, and you have also the physical exercise in order to be not too much disadapted, deconditioned to come back to Earth. And when you are free floating, you will not use your muscles, your bones the same way. There is a change in the way you move, you take things, no more weight on board, in a relaxed, complete relaxed position. So physical training has been 2 hours per day. Velo ergometer, treadmill, musculation on the other part of the body. So you need to take not a shower, but you need to be with the towels and water, and to change your clothes. And as I spoke about cargo, coming with fresh fruits, come also with new clothes on board. And that's also something interesting in the case of the diversity, gender diversity of the crew. When there is just a male crew, I'm not sure that they change clothes 2 times a week. When there is a diversity of members in the crew, so there is more attention to each other, and that's something that is interesting within the crew. And we got also this feeling from the Mission Control Center on ground. When the crew is a diverse crew, diversity doesn't mean just gender, male and female. It means also different of cultures, military also versus civilian. That means profile of a pilot and a researcher and a doctor. Diversity includes everything for me. It's inclusion of all the parts of diversity. But diversity helps for the behavior, the collective behavior of the crew during the mission. And for the long duration mission, for the Moon, for Mars, it's planned now to have diverse crew and not just a full male crew or female crew. Why not?
With so many trips like to space, is it possible that the ozone layer can break?
That what can break?
The ozone layer.
The station?
No.
No.
The ozone layer.
I don't know how to say it in French.
It's the layer of CO2 around.
The system inside that are able to give the right atmosphere? That's what you want to say?
Yeah, you look at how.
Because there is a lot of technical systems on board in order to give the oxygen, to absorb the CO2 and things like that. And one of the tasks of the astronauts on board are to be engineers in order to maintain, to repair if something is breaking. But maybe it's not your question.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's-
Okay.
One more.
Kush. Kush.
One more question. Maybe from one of our young listeners. Be brave.
May I ask? Okay. How does the space station supply the oxygen to the crew member?
How is the oxygen? So we collect all the water. There is a purification of the water, and there is electrolysis of the water. That means dissociation between H2 and oxygen. Oxygen is the one used in the system, and H2 is evacuated outside. This is an important point because when speaking about permanent infrastructure on the surface of the moon, you will not have additional oxygen coming from Earth to the village or the base. So you will need to use what we name in situ resources. And on the surface of the moon, there is two main resources. The water, ice water on the pole, the moon, north and south pole. And that means we will need to learn how to extract this water. And with the system of electrolysis dissociating H2 and O2, that means that's part of the oxygen procurement there, and also it can be a propellant. So we may have also the possibility to have oxygen as a propellant there. That means it will change completely the way to go further in space. If we have already the propellants far from the Earth's gravity. 90% of the mass of a rocket is propellant. That's why it's very difficult to and costly to go in orbit. That means that it will change everything if we have the possibility to have the propellant there. So this is an important work about the utilization of this resource in situ. So this is the first one, ice water, and the other one is the dust, the regolith on the surface of the moon. And this dust contains also oxygen. So we are dealing with some research and engineering in order to extract oxygen from this regolith, and also to use this regolith, the dust, as a material for building. What we have seen with the 3D printing, collecting the dust and using the dust as a material to protect an inflatable, for example, habitat, to protect from the meteorite, radiations, lack of atmosphere, changes of temperature. So we can think about habitat on the surface for the moon, or we can think also of habitats in some caves, lunar tubes of lava. There was a volcano long times ago on the moon. And as the field of gravity is just 1/6 of the gravity that we have on Earth, the tubes are large. And maybe it's possible to install the habitat under the surface in order to be protected. So there is a lot to discover and to master in that field.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.